So now I will try to give you the significance of DFT. For what purpose we tried to express the general sequence Xn as summation of some sequences x0n to x7n with each of them was of specific type, and that was of such specific type that it was something which is constant, which can be a two-dimensional constant into Wn raised to something raised to n. Wn raised to something has to be e raised to j theta, with theta can be anything. So we were able to express the original sequence Xn as summation of sequences of the type A, which is constant, A e raised to j theta raised to n, where A is a two-dimensional constant. A is a two-dimensional constant in the sense which describes, we need absolute silence. A can be a two-dimensional constant, maybe 3 plus 2j, 4 plus 5j, or only 3j, or only 5, anything will do. That will give us the magnitude as well as the initial position for n equal to 0. Now, what is the advantage of expressing the given sequence as summation of sequences which are of A e raised to j theta, A into e raised to j theta raised to n type? We can very well note down that a discrete time system Yn is equal to something into Xn plus some other thing into Xn minus 1 plus some other thing into Xn minus 2, wherein the output of a discrete time system is weighted sum of current and previous samples of Xn or of input sequence. The previous may go up to infinity, or it may be something finite. Then with that means Xn is applied to a system and Yn is coming out of the system, wherein Yn is equal to summation, what we write as h of n into x. I should write it separately somewhere. Yn is equal to summation hk x of n minus k, where k is varying from 0 till capital M, where capital M can be finite or infinite, two options. So in general, Yn is the weighted sum where h plays a role of weight of current for k equal to 0 and previous samples. Yn, the output sequence is weighted sum of current and previous samples. Xn is the input sequence, Yn is the output sequence, and this is the relationship between these two. But if you are asked, can you express Yn as something into Xn? You cannot. It is not possible for a general Xn. For a general Xn, it is impossible to get a relationship Yn is equal to something into Xn. That is not possible because the form itself completely changes. Now we are aware that it is one simplified version I am putting. If ever, actually it is not even g to theta, we can also have in this case more general of what we can say can have z also. Here it is e raised to j theta is straight away z on unit circle. More simplified. If xn is of, again I am trying my level best, xn is always a two-dimensional point. Now if xn is a sequence, if the sequence is of a spatial nature of a into e raised to j theta raised to n, if sequence is of spatial nature, a which is a constant, constant means again a two-dimensional constant, means it can have any position in 2D plane, that multiplied by e raised to j theta raised to n, means a represents the position for n equal to 0, and after that it rotates by an angle of theta for every sample. So xn is a sequence which is rotating like this. It can be any, not unit circle, because a can be anything. It can be any circle. If xn is such a signal, then it is possible for me to write down in the following manner. Let us say I have taken a simple case. Half half means yn is half xn plus half xn minus 1, means it is here only k equal to 0 and k equal to only 2 samples are there, based on which output is dependent, and both constants h0 is 1 half and h1 is half. So for this now, how can we proceed further? Half a e raised to j theta raised to n plus half a e raised to j theta raised to n minus 1, right? So then what? Then it continues to be equal to this. This I am writing e raised to j theta raised to n minus 1 is equal to e raised to j theta raised to n into e raised to minus j theta. Is it correct? Then I am taking this common, so I am having half a plus half a e raised to minus j theta into this. This into e raised to multiplying by e raised to minus j theta to a two-dimensional constant will change what? That constant multiplication by e raised to minus j theta to a two-dimensional constant will change that constant in what manner? In phase by angle minus theta, means anti-clockwise by theta with same magnitude. Right? And that would be another constant. Are you getting me? So multiplication by e raised to minus j theta to one constant results into another constant. That's all. So this is one constant, it is another constant. Adding I have tolerated nonsense indiscipline at your end more than a tolerable limit. Please behave sensibly to be the students of Walchandra Engineering Sangli as it is being viewed globally. So then half A and half A1, when the addition of two-dimensional constants is also another constant. So it will result into B. Half A plus half A1 may be B. So what would be Yn? Yn would be B e raised to j theta raised to n. What xn was? A e raised to j theta raised to n. Therefore, you can write, means immediately it is very easy now. This half is not required, it can be anything. It can be H0, H1, you can have H2, anything you can have. So what we will conclude, that for any linear time invariant system or for any system which is like this, we find that if the input is xn of the type A e raised to j theta raised to n, then output will always be some constant into e raised to j theta raised to n, and it will permit you to write Yn as some gain into xn. B upon A is the gain, means it will change in magnitude and phase. So the peculiarity of the system is, when a rotating phasor is applied to a discrete system, the output is also the rotating phasor with the same angular speed. What may change is the magnitude and phase of the phasor may change. Magnitude change will make the phasor bigger, and phase change will shift the position, angular position of the phasor. So the input is a rotating phasor, output is also a rotating phasor, and then this B by A will give me whether this is large or this is small. That will depend on what was theta. What theta was, on this it will depend. Therefore, by looking at this single figure, I am able to figure out the response of my system to the phasor input. So, a discrete time system, when a rotating phasor, and what I can do further to know the response, I will keep A as 1. I will keep A as 1. So a rotating phasor is with magnitude 1, or a unit phasor. A unit phasor is a good testing input to the system, in the sense that when a unit phasor input is applied to a system, the output is a phasor with same speed but different, what we can say, value. That is, A being 1, A will wipe out. So if I apply xn as e j theta raised to n, e raised to j theta raised to n, I will get the output as yn is equal to b into e raised to j theta raised to n. So by looking at b, B will be more than 1, less than 1, would be real, would be complex, would be imaginary. So that B will tell me in what manner my system is responding to the phasor, unit phasor with angular speed theta. And further, I will come to know, you will also come to know, if you think similarly, that B actually becomes a function of theta. For given theta means, if you give theta equal to theta 1, you get some constant B1, theta 2 constant B2, theta 3 constant B3, and you will be able to see that there is a relationship between B and theta. That is called as the frequency response of the discrete time system. I again repeat in a way that everybody should understand. At least I should not get a guilty consciousness that I had not tried my level best to see to it that everybody understands. Whether everybody is able to understand or nobody is understanding, that I need not bother. After I convince even if I am able to convince anybody of you about the discussion, I should be able to convince myself that I had tried my level best. So only for the class of signals A e raised to j theta raised to n, the concept is that the yn is equal to something gain times xn can be applied. The gain is magnitude gain as well as phase gain. So expressing the sequence in the form A e raised to j theta raised to n provides me to analyze the impact if this sequence is passed through a system. Then when a general sequence xn is passed through any unknown system or any system with a given equation, it is difficult for me to immediately understand what the output will be. When xn is a given sequence is passed through a discrete time system, it is difficult for me to analyze the impact of the system. Instead of that, if I am able to think that the xn is comprised of x0n to x7n, with each of them is of the form A e raised to j theta raised to n, in that case I can find out for any system what would be the impact on different components, because that would be of the form this type, and then I would be able to reconstruct the complete sequence, and I will find that in the complete sequence, in original sequence, the relative magnitudes, or not only magnitudes, the relative constants for the frequencies corresponding to various k's was this, and this is now changed substantially by the system. As I had already stated, that understanding of signals and system is one of very difficult tasks which one can have. So irrespective of your ability to understand now or otherwise, you are supposed to attend attentively. Every discrete time system offers a different gain for different thetas. Means if A e raised to j theta raised to n is the input to a system, then the gain offered is equal to B upon A. That gain itself is a function of theta. Then if I look my original sequence to be comprised of different subsequences such that each of the subsequence is of the type A e raised to j theta raised to n, then when I pass my complete sequence through my system, I can consider that I am passing the sum of these sequences separately. Each component is getting changed differently, and I can look the output as summation of these partial outputs. Wait a minute. In olden days, where the photography film was a precious quantity, the main job of the camera was to preserve that. I am sure that nowadays with the memory card available, even though there is a limit of reading writing, number of cycles, but that is so negligible that one doesn't worry about. Anyway, we proceed. So when we look at input to be comprised of various rotating phasors, input is now considered as summation of various phasors rotating at different constant angular speeds, and then each of the component undergoes through the system, changes itself, and the output is sum of such changed components. As I am able to exactly specify what the change would be for individual component, I would be in a position to get a fair idea of what the output would be. Right? So I think this is a proper time for us not to conclude the lecture, but to conclude the discussion on discrete Fourier transform. This conclusion is not the, what we can say, final conclusion, because final conclusion will not arrive at. Whatever you may discuss would be insufficient. So we have to stop somewhere. Therefore, I am stopping at this juncture. I am stopping at this juncture for discrete time, for discrete Fourier transform, but it's not a full stop but a semicolon. It is expected that you will try your level best by viewing the lecture again and again and try to get a feel of discrete Fourier transform. A student from your class may not understand anything else, but he would be master in discrete Fourier transform in a similar manner that in our country there are many experts who may not be literates but who are very good betters. With this now, I think that we had comfortably finished section second. And now we turn to first section. As regards to systems, we had discussed systems in even first semester also, wherein we had discussed simple system of R and C. So our stress now would be on the signals. Our stress now would be on the signals. And in continuous signals also, instead of xn, xt will come in front of you. And I also expect that the moment at which xt comes in front of you, you should be able to view a signal like this. Are you getting me? This is t-axis. This is time axis. You are conventionally tuned with our lectures getting put on YouTube. I am restraining myself to use harsh words. Conventionally, xt versus t is like this, and you are well conversant This is xt versus t. But as already stated, whether useful or not, it is not at least useless to have a very clear-cut mapping of a two-dimensional signal. Therefore, this is t-axis and xt now cannot be on one axis because it is two-dimensional. So it is t-axis versus xt plane, wherein for every t, xt would be somewhere in this plane. So we can start like this. This is t-axis. This is a big plane. You can consider the center point 0. So it starts from here. T advances, xt, a constant xt is like this. Xt may be like this. I hope that this has given enough idea to everybody about xt. Never try to visualize xt like this. Try to visualize xt in this manner. So it's a 2D, xt versus t is a 3D graph. xt is a 2D signal. 1D is a special case. To that we may come at a later point of time. Is it clear now? There are two approaches. First, teach simple and then complex, or reverse approach. Now, xt is a signal and let us say xt as a repetitive signal. Means now I am trying to explain to you the contents in the first section in a tailor-made sequence. That is, we are defining a new sequence for explaining the contents. We are not going by point. So xt is a repetitive signal. Means how will you look at, you know, sine wave in one dimensional, that you are already aware. Similarly, a repetitive signal means what? After that, if capital T is the period, then x small t capital T is the period, then xt plus capital T is equal to xt. Repetitive signal. So you can visualize a repetitive signal in 2D plane. What will happen? It will have, there is some path. We may start from one point and we may come to the same point. We start from this point. You can take anything and come to the same point. After that, you connect this throughout. Right? Is it clear? So, the position of the signal remains the same after time capital T elapses. So, there is only one fundamental period in which xt is having what we can say a freedom to vary. So, from this position, like this it may come like this, and it has come to the same position. After that, the same part will repeat, like in any manner. Or if you think 2D is difficult to think, then you can have like this. You start from here and comes to the same point. After that, this repeats. So it's a repetitive signal. Then this repetitive signal, now I hope that two-dimensional discussion we have been introduced. Then let us try to simplify something also. Now, this signal repeats continuously. Like e raised to j theta, which is, or e raised to st, which is a general purpose signal such that differentiation and integration becomes scaling. Similarly, for smaller thinking, we have two signals or one only, sin omega t and cos omega t, right? So sin omega t, if you differentiate sin omega t, what do we get? Omega cos omega t. Actually, cos omega t you can write as sin of omega t and phase, that is pi by 2 phase. So we can say that differentiation of sine wave is another sine wave only with phase and magnitude gain. With phase and magnitude gain. Therefore, it is means for any system a sine wave. Why it is? Because capacitor and inductor, these two elements respond in a linear manner to the derivatives of voltage and current. Means I think that a time has come that we should have sometime in the YouTube we will have a camera on you, and then you should be scolded, and that should be all time record for you. That should go live. And naturally, such nonsense group of students should be dealt in a merciless manner. The group of students which does not even understand what is the significance of the contents which we are receiving, there cannot be any lenient approach. Anyway, we shall come to that later. So now we shall think whether it is possible for me to consider a repetitive signal as a combination of multiple sinusoids. The theme which I am unfolding today is a concept of looking towards any repetitive signal as an addition of multiple sinusoids with different amplitudes and different phases. Can I express any repetitive signal as summation of multiple sinusoids? And if I am successful in that, it will give me a good insight of looking what will happen if such a signal is passed through a system. I think we may stop now recording.